Hey guys, I'm actually here at the Mormon History Association conference in Ogden, Utah. So I'm going to show you a little bit around here and talk about this today and give you a bit of a tour and go through some things, so stick around. Okay, I'm here at Ballroom E. I got to do some volunteering to help them out, but this place is pretty cool. Let me see if I can switch my camera around and show you. So a lot of books being sold here, a lot of opportunities. I want to point out something right here. Yeah. All right, I just met Jared Halverson. Way to go. Jared's an awesome guy. Love talking with him. That was really fun to meet with him. This is really cool. A lot of fun stuff. You can see there's a lot of books here. Man, I could spend a lot of money here real fast. So hopefully I don't, but definitely not before I talk to my wife for sure. So some fun stuff. We're a lot of different conferences and stuff. I'm here helping out at one of them, and I'll kind of cue you in and see what we can do. So I want to talk a bit about some of the things that we've been learning here at the Mormon History Association. Like, why should you come to these types of events? Even if you're not a Latter-day Saint, there's really a lot of fun stuff to learn at these events. So the Mormon History Association is, of course, all about LDS history. But the thing to understand about it is to realize that it's not just a bunch of people, sitting around talking about like Joseph Smith and gold plates and general authorities and stuff like that. This is an organization that is all about understanding the other parts of history. So you take the main narrative of history for the LDS Church and then start branching out from there to look at other ideas. So a couple of the lectures that I've attended, just to give you some examples, I had a friend of mine who presented on the LDS Church's official public announcements, I guess, around same-sex marriage. Back in 2014 and 2015, there was a series of 3 letters that the First Presidency put out back then talking about same-sex marriage, and he examined how they changed and what kind of significance could that have for him. There were others that dealt with like Latter-day Saint ideas and law, different legal aspects of Latter-day ideas and concepts and things, history, church history, and how the law kind of played into decisions. Things like that were kind of fun. I attended one actually on genealogy. I volunteered. That was one of the things that I did, was help volunteer. And so I helped volunteer at this one class that was all about like genealogy and things. Honestly, it wasn't a topic I was thinking to be interesting, but as I sat through it and learned about it, it was really wild because in the early times of the church, when they were encouraging more like genealogy, pedigree charts, putting things together, women were really good at this, like the idea of scrapbooking, putting together books of like your ancestry and genealogy and pictures to the names, and some even put like cuts of hair in their books, and they decorated them things. It kind of came down to this concept of there's genealogy and personal family, like personal books, and then there's more official church books, which is dealing more with like ordinations, who set apart who, those kinds of things, which tend to be more male-centric. So the church at one point put out a statement that talked about, for official records, we want more of the male perspective, the ordinations and things, the church paperwork for history, not the personal or family history stuff the women were doing. So there was a little bit of exclusion that happened at that time. Thankfully, people kept those books around, and now they're, from a historian standpoint, both of those books are very valuable for information. And they didn't, in the early days, I shouldn't say early days, but in the ideas of like the 40s and 50s, 1940s, 1950s, the church had a narrow focus on what would be good historical records. And so now we have a much broader perspective. We're trying to pull those old books back into place. That was kind of interesting to learn a little bit more about that history. Another friend of mine did a great talk today on some of her research into women, LDS women who were in the military in World War II, and just their roles that they played, what were some of their stories and experiences, There's a really fascinating story that she told about how the church didn't necessarily encourage women and didn't acknowledge women in the military for a long time. And then slowly we see it in like general conference talks. They're starting to acknowledge the service and the dedication that women gave to help with World War II efforts. So it's just kind of interesting how attitudes and perspectives change over time. It's a really great talk, and that she did. There was another talk, in fact, about histories from Ukraine. A young lady from BYU that had served a mission in Ukraine. She came back, and she had been preserving histories, like talking to people. What was your experience? How does this affect your faith? And so she's got, since then, now that she's back from her mission, she's been able to contact people from her mission and stay in touch with them during the war to just understand what is their perspective, what is an LDS perspective of the war. How do you apply love to the Russians? How do you think about the idea of loving your neighbor and those things, and what has the war done to impact you? How do you keep your faith? How do you maintain your safety and opportunities while living in a war zone? So really interesting perspectives of people in Ukraine today. Really fascinating stuff that she got there. There are so many talks, like a lot of interesting perspectives. There's a gentleman here, Taylor Petrie. He is a scholar, a really smart guy, really nice guy. I got to actually sit next to him, meet him in person during one of the lectures. It was really cool. He's written a lot of books about looking at church history from a queer theory standpoint. If you want to see church history from a very different perspective, that he's got some really good books to look into. Tabernacles of Clay was kind of a groundbreaking book that he did that is really, really interesting. It's a whole nother perspective of thinking about church history from a how did it relate with gender and queer ideas and things. So a very different way to think about church history. It was really good. So lots of different concepts and topics and ideas that, and that's just a few of the ones that I've gone to. And so every session that they've had, there's been like 7 or 8 different topics that you could go through. So some were on like food, some were on art, LDS art. There was a great one I went to about Mother in Heaven type idea, and it was a lot of concepts about how art, while there's not a lot said about Heavenly Mother, visual art, artists have actually done a whole lot to further the idea of Heavenly Mother through art, because it's kind of seen as non-threatening, non-theological. So that was kind of fun to see and explore some of how artists have depicted Heavenly Mother, situations where maybe Heavenly Mother could have been involved in history, things like that. So just a lot of topics, a lot of different things to get into. So this is why these conferences are fun. There's lots of these conferences all over. There's lots of different associations that do these. There's biblical history associations who get more Bible history studies. There's a lot of different ones. So if you're interested in this kind of stuff, look for these associations. And in fact, if you just type in the topic and the word association, you'll probably find some association associated with it, and look up their conference and when they meet and go study them. So a lot of fun, a lot of interesting stuff that I've done, met a lot of cool people. Like I said, Taylor Petrie, got to sit next to him, which was really cool to meet him in person. I've met him on Zoom once. Jared Halverson, got to talk with Jared Halverson, helped him with his parking. In fact, that was really nice. He's got a class coming up here in a few minutes I'm going to jump into as well. Casey Griffiths is here. He was here Friday. I haven't seen him on Saturday yet, but he was here Friday, and didn't get a chance to say hi and introduce myself to him, but hopefully today, later today, I can and see him. So a lot of fun, a lot of good stuff to learn, a lot of good stuff to do, fun people to meet. So it's just great. They're fun opportunities to meet with people and discuss things with them. So a lot of people from Utah State, a lot of professors from Utah State. In fact, I've talked with here, people I've had classes from and other things. So it's really cool. So a lot of good. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. It's been a fun experience to go and attend. So we'll talk to you later.